Why the hell do Chinese courts apply foreign law in cases they try here in China? In our cross-border family law and inheritance law practice, very often one of my key tasks or important mission is to find out how the foreign law is like in regarding a certain legal issue in China. For example, the most frequently issue is matrimonial property regime. Many of you might know that China, we have the default matrimonial regime saying you are married, everything you acquired after marriage will be considered as we call community property. That means automatically whatever one spouse acquired after marriage, the other spouse will have half interest in that piece of property or asset. So in practice, people, as people say, the world is flat and people are moving across the border very often. For example, a Chinese couple, after as many Chinese rich people, they would like to immigrate to a foreign country. That's very often, that happens a lot here in China. So when they stay in China, they bought a piece of, let's say, a real property in Shanghai. But after a few years, they immigrate to Australia or to UK, maybe some states in the United States. And then, under Chinese law, the matrimonial property regime governing their assets will change with the change of their habitual residence. Okay, because there's a piece of law in China says the matrimonial property regime is the law where the couple share their mutual habitual residence or common habitual residence. That means where both of them live together. Let's say a couple move from China to Australia, and then the property I mentioned just now that bought in China might be registered in one spouse's name. So once they move to Australia, if I'm not wrong, on Australian law or some other in UK law, any piece of property registered in one spouse's name is considered as that spouse's personal property, right? So if that spouse dies, the property registered in his or her name will be considered as his or her estate that will be distributed according to either tested or intestate succession rules. But if the couple have not moved out of China, they stay in China until one of the spouse dies, and then that piece of property, although registered in one spouse's name, if that spouse dies, half of the property will be actually first allocated to the other surviving spouse. That means only half of the property is considered as that spouse's estate. You see the big difference here, right? So this is something we dealing with cross-border family or estate matters in China. Very often we need to seek a legal opinion from our foreign counterpart to tell Chinese court how the matrimonial property law is look like in their own jurisdiction. But I know there's no such issue or there's no such a headache in most of the common law jurisdictions, for example, UK or even in Hong Kong, Singapore. So their court will not be troubled by applying a foreign law. This is definitely not an easy task for any judge to apply something they don't even know much about, right? So but here in China, this is a thing, this is a big trouble for either the Chinese lawyer or for Chinese court. But this is what our law says. So when you deal with such a cross-border issue, a good lawyer will help a lot.